I'm on a journey to become the best cook I can be. And on my journey, I've learned to make some amazing food and got to meet some amazing people. And this time is no different. Join me as I learn some new brisket techniques and some old ones. And as I get to know the family that by all accounts should not have survived to share their story with me today. But don't worry, as dark as this story gets, there's a happy ending and some fantastic barbecue along the way.
You guys could be seeing it live here. This could be the point where the shed changes the way they cook briskets.
Our story begins in 1989 in a little town called Wingate, Texas. Population 216, in a shed on a cattle ranch that somehow managed to make the very first Texas Monthly Top 50 list.
My grandparents opened the original shed in Wingate in 1989. My grandfather was a rancher and farmer, and he cooked some on the side and decided to open a little commercial kitchen and put a few tables in it. I would have been like 11, 12 years old. I started working here as soon as they opened.
The shed was like a destination spot. And we used to have like the Corvette Club would come out, or different motorcycle clubs, or, you know, whatever. Groups from ACU, groups from San Angelo.
I was washing dishes and worked out here on the weekends. As I got older, I got moved over to helping on the steak grill, and so we were cooking. We'd serve 500 people on a Saturday night. I mean, it was a hopping place. This is still the original roof that we're underneath. My granddad was in his late 60s when he decided to do this, and they were older and they just worked their tails off. He was a people person. He loved everybody. I spent a lot of time with him. He was larger than life. He loved to cut up and joke, and I mean, he loved to drink cold beer. And that was his thing, man. He loved it. And he loved my grandmother so much. I learned how to, everything. I mean, big influence in my life. My grandmother, she was something else. Betty Sue Dean. One of our pits is named Betty Sue. Yep. But let me think how to put this. So she was mean. I guarantee you. And I would tell her this. She would stay after my granddad all the time, griping at him, but she would take somebody under her wing. So many people.
We used to joke about Nana's strays. You know, she would have people that she would take in and help prop them up and, you know, help them get whatever they needed. And so they just had all these people who were just insanely loyal to them.
His favorite thing, he'd go, "God damn it, Betty." And, you know, he could say these things, but you never spoke one bad word about that woman, or he would tear your head off, buddy. He was very loyal, and yeah, he loved her a lot. She went before him, and I think, you know, he only made it 6 months after that, and that was the end. So
That says it all.
yeah.
Well, I will confess to you, this is my least favorite part of barbecue, is trimming brisket. Maybe you're gonna be the teacher who gets me across the finish line.
I can tell you how we do it. So let's open this thing up, and we'll go to trimming this thing.
You're actually using a slicer. People give me a hard time for using a butcher knife because it's bigger than the boning knives that they see.
Well, we were originally using the boning knives with this longer knife and these bigger briskets. Even with it being serrated, you're gonna think it's crazy, but I'm telling you, it works really well. So,
All right, so what are we doing first?
So I'm gonna try to get rid of some of this membrane off the top here.
Okay,
We're gonna save all these trimmings for our sausage.
okay, even the membrane's gonna...
Yeah, it's got some red meat on there. We can make it work.
So I guess since you're making sausage, you're not as worried about the yield with the trim here if I take a little bit of meat with it.
No, go for it. Once you clean a little of that off there, take this big chunk of fat out right here.
All right. I feel like I didn't get as much fat off the top as you did, but...
Since I got that out of the way, I'm gonna remove a little bit more of that.
Okay.
We use upper 2/3 certified Angus beef. All these briskets come from a packer named Demcota. They're out of the Dakotas up there. They've got an Angus co-op that we've been really pleased with it. So keeping up with volume and demand and consistency is really good.
I mean, that's a hard thing to find, that kind of volume. How many briskets are you doing in a week?
Depending on catering, we did 100 this past Saturday. So
Wow.
yeah. All right, next thing we want to do is flip it over, and let's get a look at the top where the burn ends and all that good stuff right off the edge of that point. We want to kind of round it off, but we don't want to get into what I consider to be the best part of the brisket is right here. I'm going to get a little bit into that lean part right there, but I'm mainly wanting to just shave all that fat off. Once you get into some meat there, then we'll kind of ease up on that part. So
there's a lot of fat on these. Is this typical of what you're working with?
Yes. They're going to average about 15 to 16 pounds, I'm going to say. We're going to end up with about a 5-pound brisket once it hits the block.
So we're going to lose 2/3 of it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's the way it is.
You're kind of rounding the corner up here, is that right?
That is correct.
All right.
I would take just a little bit more off right in here, Al, and I think you're going to be set.
Okay.
And this flat looks really good. We've got just a thin layer of fat on this thing. I don't know that I even need to mess with that at this point. What I would like to do, though, is take the top of this point off right here. So.
All right, so we're taking the whole mohawk off.
That's it.
All right, you're going all the way down there. So.
Yep. Then I'm going to go ahead and make another pass down through here because there is quite a bit of fat right in this area.
Right. It's not too bad on
No,
mine.
that looks great. Now I want to round off these corners a little bit, guys.
So we can take the thick corner and just create a round.
Just keep those sharp points off that'll tend to get a little burned up in the cooker. The last thing we want to do, Al, is the back end of this point. I like to just get a little bit of that off there. It makes great sausage.
All right.
So now that we're done trimming, we're going to get all this cleaned up and then we're going to go into the seasoning.
Okay, great.
Great.
So you meet a boy.
The cutest boy. Byron and I met in high school.
She was a freshman and I was a junior. I gave her a ride home from school one day. I had a regular cab pickup. She sat as far over to the right as she possibly could. She never said a word the entire way to her house, which was only 2 miles from the school. And I'll never forget that.
Byron's he's just different. He's quiet, but he's hilarious. So many people don't even realize because he's so quiet, but he was a bit of a wild child back then.
She says you were pretty cute back then.
I don't know. I had hair back then. I'll say that. And she was funny. She was very outgoing. I was a tough guy. I was a jackass. I played football. I was wild as can be. Yeah, she didn't need to be messing with me.
I had to chase him around a little bit and convince him that he wanted to be with me.
I got in way over my head with Stacie, so outkicked my coverage, is that what they say?
Yeah.
So we finally started dating after, I guess the summer after I graduated.
What'd your folks think of Byron back in the day?
So we met at these different stock shows and stuff. They were shocked. He would walk around, he would pour a beer in a styrofoam cup, obviously underage at these stock shows, and drink a beer. And they were like, I don't know about this. I don't know if this is the guy you need to be dating. And they were probably right. It probably was not the guy that I should have been dating, but yeah, I started working out here and I was hostess, waitress, whatever. I
moved from the steak grill to helping with the pits. And my grandparents loved Stacie. She waited tables out here and she was just, they immediately, that's just how they were. They were that kind of people, and all their staff, everybody was family. So all this is a cracked pepper and kosher salt. 9 parts pepper to 5 parts salt.
Dolly Parton, 9 to 5.
9 to 5, that's it.
All right, so how heavy are we gonna put it on?
We're gonna go. I mean, you're gonna use a lot of this stuff. I'll go for it. Just get a fistful and really coat it on that brisket. Rub it around, smooth it out, make it an even coating all over that brisket. Perfect.
This is not 16 mesh black pepper.
No, this is a cracked pepper that we use on a lot of our meats. We just prefer it over the 16 mesh.
Okay.
These are really nice briskets. They look great.
I mean, this might be the prettiest one that I've trimmed. You get credit for it.
I don't know about that.
Maybe using the big knife is the answer. Maybe I'll do a better job.
One of these days, you're gonna have to try a carving knife.
I'll do it. So how has this evolved over time?
We do measure out our salt and pepper. When Granddad used to do this, he would apply the salt first and then pepper second. There's too much room for error. When we have other people in the pit room seasoning briskets doing that, this is much more controllable. And when he was doing it, he used regular table salt.
Right.
And the coarsest pepper he could find, which was not near this coarse. He had just a restaurant grind black pepper that he would use.
Your bark is amazing. So that's the difference here. The salt is getting us more of a salty bark, and the cracked pepper.
I think so.
Okay. Do these sit overnight or are these ready to go in the cooker?
They are ready to go on.
All right.
We can put them on here in just a minute, but I have a surprise for you.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, let me grab this.
All right. We got like a Wagyu or something?
No. We actually went out and found a select brisket. We're gonna do one just like my granddad used to do.
So he used to cook with selects.
That's all he used. So
This is a guy who made the Texas monthly top 50 list multiple times.
you didn't see many choice or prime cuts back then, and briskets were 50 cents a pound, and this is just what he used. This was common, and there's no trimming involved.
Well, now it's music to my ears.
Let's go over this.
Let's get in there.
So-
I've never seen a select brisket used for anything other than chopped brisket, so I'm kind of holding my breath. But obviously he built a pretty nice reputation off of this. So
He really did. This is just a regular old Packer select brisket. There is zero marbling in this thing.
there's no fat.
There's not a whole lot to trim here. There's a little bit of this, but he didn't worry about any of that. It was literally cut it out of the package and season it with table salt and horse black pepper.
Do we have table salt? and
I've got it.
So here's the question of the hour. What happens if we cook this granddad's way and it tastes better than these?
I don't know. I don't know. I remember back to my childhood, and this stuff tasted phenomenal, but I cannot imagine that the marbling and the quality of this brisket is gonna match up to upper 2/3 certified Angus beef. I don't know. We'll just have to see. I have not done this since I worked at the restaurant back in Wingate.
All right, so we're not cutting this out of the video, guys. Like, if this ends up being better, you're gonna see it right here on the show. You're not worried though?
I don't know. I don't think so.
All right, we'll see. All right, so
So, table salt that goes on the table. I mean, he would salt the heck out of this stuff.
that's a lot of salt.
It's a lot of salt.
And with those small granules, those should absorb pretty deep, right?
Yeah.
So you're not gonna get that salty bark, but maybe you'll get salt penetration into the meat.
It's so fine. It's way different than what we're used to. He did not use a cracked pepper that was this coarse, but I think it's going to be great for what we're doing today.
Okay, that's crazy. And that's iodized salt. That is,
Yeah.
like, these salt shakers are probably the same ones he had on the tables.
Exactly.
Oh, that's crazy.
Doesn't it look crazy with this, how
It
fine it
does.
is? We're fixing to see how it works.
I mean, Barrett Black still makes it the way that his great granddad did, and he makes fantastic briskets. So this might actually, well, I don't think he's using select. I think he might actually have some marbling in his meat.
I mean, that's about the way I remember it right there.
All right, so you guys, right now, before you get to see the result, drop a comment whether you think Granddad's brisket's gonna be better or whether you think the way Byron does it now is gonna be better. I can't wait to see. But don't wait till you know the answer. Drop the comment now. All right, so that's it.
That's it. We're gonna put these on this muley here, point in towards the firebox. It's a funny coincidence that we're cooking one of Granddad's briskets on the pit that's named after him. Holstein, this is HD right here.
Nice. All right, so we just let them roll now?
Yep, we're gonna let them cook for about 8 hours at 250 to 260 degrees, and then we'll wrap R2, and then we'll drop Granddad's in the cooler and let it rest.
Just drop it in a cooler.
No wrap, no nothing.
All right, guess we'll see how that works.
Okay.
I was in my first semester and I never stayed in the dorm. I stayed at his college house, which was chaos. All these boys living together and holes in the walls, and just, there's no way, like, if my daughter would have been hanging out in a house like that, which my parents didn't know.
I was going to college just because that was what I was supposed to do, I guess. And I was still working at my grandparents' restaurant at that time, and I was fairly confident that business degree was not going to be used in the restaurant business. I'd been here since I was 12, like, this is all I'd never known.
I thought that I was going to be a teacher. My mom was an elementary school teacher. She was an amazing teacher. Thank the Lord I did not end up being a teacher. I think I would have been a really terrible teacher. I don't think I could have done it.
I learned how to weld. I learned how to put up metal buildings and do things like that. But ultimately, I didn't know what I wanted to do in college.
Byron and I had actually just gotten in a pretty good fight. We were not getting along. There was a trailer house that sat right back here behind the shed, and I was staying there.
Stacie calls me and says, we got a problem.
I took, I don't even know, 10 pregnancy tests and lined them all up on that green bathtub, and I thought, one of these suckers is going to be negative. These cannot, and all of them just positive, crazy positive. And I'm like, okay. And so told him,
My life's over with, For sure, if I did have any plans on continuing school or anything else, that was all done.
but it was like, we knew, that we were going to stay together.
There were tears, there were, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And I felt like the only thing we could do, and it was get married.
Then I called and told my mom, and then made my mom tell my dad, which is horrible looking back. Who does that? But my parents love him, his parents love me, and it's like, okay, this is not ideal, but survive, make ends meet, and then, we'll probably go back to school later, or we'll figure it out. But for right now, come home and let's figure all this out together.
We found all this out in January, and we were married by the end of March, and that was it.
All right, we're gonna get married, leave school, we're gonna come back to the shed. So what was life like then when you came back?
At that point, they had 30 employees. It was big. They had expanded and opened one in Sweetwater. They opened one in Winters. They were spread too thin. So I stepped into that management role at 21 years old. Had no business doing that.
The bigger I got, I was waddling around in here. I was a waitress, and Granddad said, "Hun, that's gonna be too hard on you, and let's find you something else to do." He put me at the hostess stand, and so I was hostess, and I would waddle people back to their table.
It was a hard life, man. We were just trying to get by, trying to raise a baby. My parents were such big help. Always there for us all the time.
I needed to finish school and get into something where I could start making some money. So I went to LVN school, and then went from LVN to RN. You've got kids and you're working, and it's just, I could only take a few classes at a time online. It took me many years to get your traditional 4-year degree. His grandparents, the older they got, they were tired. Just crazy hours. So toward the end, they kind of decided to let's take it all back down to Wingate, and let's just be at the original. And so at that point, we thought we were going to take a step back, for good. It's exhausting. This is y'all's.
He always told everybody, he said, if these boys, talking about me and my brother, he said, if these boys ever quit me, I'm done. I'm going to have to shut the doors in this place. And I think he probably knew it was necessary.
And we always helped them cater, anytime they needed it. But we took a pretty significant step back.
So Al, now we're gonna work on some pork chops. These are a special that we do from time to time, and we cater these a lot. What we start with is a bone-in chop. We start off by building our brine.
Okay.
So for every gallon of water, we start with a half a cup of kosher salt.
Okay.
We do a quarter cup of black pepper, the cracked pepper.
Same stuff that put on the rubs, okay.
Absolutely. And then we do 2/3 cup brown sugar.
Packed brown sugar,
Packed.
obviously.
It's packed. Now we're gonna stir this up.
Okay. So how much pork will we be able to brine?
20 chops with a gallon.
This will handle one of these loins.
Yes, sir.
And how many are we making today?
We are gonna make 470 of these things today.
I'm sorry. We're gonna make 470 pork chops.
470 pork chops. We've got a big catering event coming up that we need to get these things brining. So the one thing we have to remember is it's easier to cut these pork chops when they're frozen. If they're thawed out and completely fresh, which these were fresh when we got them in a week ago, but we got right into the walk-in freezer and got them chilled out where they're frozen solid, much easier to handle and much easier to run through that bandsaw
Makes
this
sense.
way.
Yeah.
We've got these pork chops cut with about 1.5 inch thick bone-in chop there. That's one of the nice loin chops.
That's pretty.
We're gonna start with brining this small batch here. This brine's in warm water. These pork chops are frozen solid. So keep that in mind. And we're gonna actually leave this in the brine for 4 days.
4 days.
It's a 4-day brine.
Okay.
We have done this trial and error, and 4 days is the magic number, man. It gets these things are so tender you can nearly cut them with a fork.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna let these brine, but we're not gonna get 470 in here.
No. When we cut our 470, we're gonna have to go in some very large Yeti coolers.
Right.
And then go right into the walk-in cooler with those.
Stacie went to work at Hendrick as a nurse, as an LVN, and I went out and I bought a dozer.
At first, We had some help from family, but it was tough. There's always something breaking down. You have to spend so much money to try to make money in that business.
I had a little success at it, and I ended up hiring some help. And I figured I could have one guy working, it'd be better to have two. And then that led to a lot of other, hires and doing and expanding, buying more equipment.
It was feast or famine, I mean, he would have a big job and we would feel like we had money for a minute, and then he would have a gap in there where he didn't have anything. And, we were not good at figuring that out. You would think the first 2 or 3 times that would happen, we would go, maybe we should hold back some of this and use it when we don't have any, but it was hard times.
I had a friend at a local oil company. He said, listen, if you could put together 3 guys with a welder and a skid steer, I can keep them busy 7 days a week. And I said, I bet I can do it. So I had this old buddy, Will Clay, that I called up and said, listen, if you'll run this crew, we can stay busy.
Me and Byron, we were friends. First off, we went to high school together and played high school football together, so we knew each other growing up. Fast forward 10 years, then we're starting to get into business together.
At that point in our lives, we functioned very independently. Like, he would go off and do his dirt work and his different jobs, and I couldn't be bothered with what he had going on because I had, the kids and the job and full-time school.
We would get work done, but we'd drink beer the whole day. Me and Byron, we'd always say, how much beer are we gonna ice down today? And said, it doesn't matter because that's how much we're gonna drink. We just thought that's what the image of being a hardworking man was. We'd drink beer during the day, and when I come home, I'm liable to drink another handful of them,
All right, well, so these famous ribs, huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we just start off with a spare rib.
Okay.
And we'll get this thing out of this package here.
Looks pretty.
Yes, sir. You can take yours there.
Okay.
And we're just gonna come in here and cut this brisket bone off.
Okay.
And then we'll come in here and we'll just cut this tip off right there, right in front of that bone.
Right here?
Yes, sir.
All right. There we go. Membrane stays on?
Membrane stays on.
Okay.
Everything stays on just like that.
Oh, so we're not pulling the skirt or anything? We're
No,
leaving
sir.
that on?
Leaving it all on.
Okay. It doesn't burn when you're cooking it?
No, sir.
Okay, cool.
And then we'll go to seasoning it.
This is it. We're not doing any more trimming. We're done.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that certainly makes it easy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There's not a lot to it.
Cool.
And this is just our salt pepper blend.
Right.
And just put it on there like that. Give it a
Okay.
shot.
All right. I might be going too heavy here,
No,
huh?
that'll be all right.
All right, mine's not as pretty as yours,
That's all right.
but I'll try to do better.
That's all right. And then same thing on.
Is there a direction that matters,
No,
or just
sir.
get it
Just
on
get it.
there? All right, good. And we don't need to worry about the sides or anything?
No, sir.
And then these are ready to go on the smoker.
Yes, sir.
Wow, that was super simple. It's all going to be in the smoke.
That's right.
So we were drinking all the time, we were always together. We were, it was just bad for our families, bad for business, bad for everything. Had about 15 guys working for us, traveling all the time, leaving at 4 a.m, driving to Midland, driving to Barnhart, Big Lake, all these places.
I didn't know for sure. I didn't have direct evidence of things, but 2 + 2 is 4, right? Like, I know who he's with and where he's going, so you can pretty much know the ending of some of those things.
I've always said, if you want to see somebody's priorities, just look in the bed of their pickup. And the bed of our pickup always had a beer cooler on it. And it was always iced down and ready to go.
He didn't prioritize much above working and hanging out with his friends.
We expanded and we got to going big time. I mean, we were doing a lot of dollars.
Byron starts getting the bigger contracts with the bigger oil companies. Money's flowing. Oil's $150 a barrel. Does that positively impact the relationship?
No, he's kind of feels like he's invincible, and he's thinking that he did all of this on his own. Just drinking during the day and just doing, it's didn't bring us any closer together, didn't add any kind of value to our children's lives. I mean, the money to me just didn't matter.
Things at home were terrible, as bad as they probably ever had been. You think that money's going to fix all these problems that you have at home, and it's not. And it was just like gasoline on the fire.
It was really tough on him, and I should have been probably a lot more supportive than I was, but I didn't have the time or the mental space to support him in that the way I could have. Looking back on that, I wish I had done a little better, but we were both doing all we knew how to do. It was a lonely time, but I had my babies, and so, you know, and it's, you know, when things aren't ideal, it's Mom 101 that you put on a face, and they shouldn't know that. You know, they should never think that their childhood is anything but great.
I was drinking before because I was broke. I was drinking now because I was having so much success, and we're going to party it up.
His grandparents were getting older, wanted to be able to stay here on the farm.
After my grandparents retired, closed the restaurant, they would book these catering jobs for customers they'd had for a long time.
We still helped Nana and Granddad cater on the side all those years. Anytime they needed our help, I would come out here. And so his granddad said, why don't you buy the place?
My grandparents had this place, been in his family for, you know, I'm the fourth generation.
They could stay in their home and have some income, and we would just pay them.
They financed it, and they got to stay here as long as they wanted.
Gosh, within a year probably, my dad contacted me and was wanting to sell our place, our family's place.
Bought this and Stacie's family's place within about 4 months of each other. Bought 2 big ranches.
And that was really not a good decision.
I was invincible. The more risk, the better. I loved it.
We've got this thing set right about 250.
All right, so just put them front to back there.
Yes, sir.
Great.
Yes, sir. And that's what works for us. We like using this rotisserie for our ribs. It does a real good job getting the smoke all the way around the meat for us, and it really does a great job.
Well, if it produces those ribs, then I guess
Yes,
it's doing
sir.
its job, right?
Yes, sir.
We had a blow up, and we split. I mean, it was a divorce. It really was.
Drinking eventually cost us our business, and it cost us our friendship. I mean, Byron was the best friend I had, and when it hit the fan, I didn't talk to him. I mean, he was a nobody to me, and I was to him. I mean, it was bad.
I continued on with the business. He went and did something completely different. Oil prices were great. I got in with another couple of big companies, but the oil price went down drastically overnight. And when that happened, they flipped the switch, shut it off. All work stopped right then.
Everybody is having trouble, and we would see people that we owed money, and it was like you duck your head, and you know, it was tough.
The kids were getting older. They're beginning to figure out that Dad's drunk all the time, failed business, trying not to go bankrupt. It was all the problems at home were just increased by all this.
There was infidelity. There was, I mean, all kinds of stuff in that season, in that those many years, and I didn't know for sure. And had I known for sure, I would have left. But I never did know 100% for sure. I didn't have anything to act on. And it was all those years, it was, oh, you're crazy. That's not what this is. That's not what's going on. You know, we had this marriage where it was just this cycle of crazy. Like, I was no Jim. I may not have done the things that he did, but I was not someone that he wanted to come home to. I was very unpleasant. I was very unhappy. I just was so stressed out and miserable the whole time. And so, I mean, was I hateful and mean and not somebody that he wanted to come home to because I figured I knew what he was doing? Probably. But was he doing the things he was doing because I was so awful and he didn't want to come home? Probably. Where did that start? I don't know.
I feel like my grandparents, they didn't approve what I was doing. They didn't know everything I was doing. They'd see us get in fights probably.
My mom would talk about that a little bit to me a little bit. So yeah, and I was too hard-headed. I had it all figured out.
That was probably pretty close to our breaking point. I mean, I remember telling him, like, you're gonna have to make some choices and you're gonna have some priorities. And, you know, right now that's not me. He didn't realize at the time, but I mean, I was looking for houses that I could afford as a nurse where I could keep our kids in the school district that they were in. I hadn't gotten to that point.
Why do you think Stacie stuck around through that?
I don't know. If I would have been in her shoes, there's no doubt I'd have got the kids and left. I'd have been gone.
That is the thing with my firstborn, this baby. I mean, she has been the glue that has held us together for all these years. I mean, she's the original glue that, like, okay, we're gonna get married. And then when Byron was not the ideal husband, she's the reason that I stayed. She's been our glue from day one.
She know that?
I don't know if she fully understands it. You know, she probably does now that she's married and a mom herself. I mean, it probably makes a lot more sense to her now.
Pretty good chance that's gonna make the video, so
yeah,
she'll know.
Yeah,
because it's awesome.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
These ribs been on for about 4 hours, so they ought to be getting close, if not all the way done. And this is old granddad trick. You take these ribs and you push them apart like that, and it comes off of that meat like that, then that's how granddad always knew they were ready.
Ah.
These will come off, go on a tray, and they'll go right in the warmer.
I started going on these medical mission trips to Haiti. We went through an organization called Live Beyond, and we would set up clinics and treat hundreds of people a day. And it was the coolest organization, and man, just awesome.
I was at the mill one night, and I'd probably had too much to drink. And this guy said, I am trying to put together a trip of just guys to go down there, and we're going to do some construction. And I'm like, okay. So I'd had a little bit, and I think I agreed to do this when I was probably drunk. I'm like, yeah, why not? We're hanging on by a thread at this point as far as our relationship, our marriage. Stuff was not good.
He was pretty well beat down and a little broken at that point. You know, I mean, he knew how bad things were financially. He didn't have anything waiting.
We went over there and built this dude a house. There's a team of about, I would say, 8 guys, 8 Americans working alongside the other Haitians that are working.
This was a small group of guys in the middle of the poorest village of Haiti who had all signed up to wrestle cinder blocks on a poor island. And so Byron was big, strong, manly looking dude, and Byron's a man of few words. So we did a lot more building together than we did small talk.
And I'm talking 95 degrees and 90% humidity, and I was not in shape. I sweated more than I've ever sweated in my entire life, I think. And hauling cinder blocks and pouring concrete and mixing concrete, hand dug a septic. I mean, it was work, manual labor that I hadn't experienced in some time. And man, it was just working alongside everybody and just doing that whole thing was just, it was incredible.
We slept in mosquito nets beside each other, took cold showers beside each other, and rode on the back of trucks together.
It was interesting to see that part of the world and that culture and how other people live. I think that was inspiring, you know, that they can live on so little and they're all so happy. They don't have anything. I've got all these problems, but these people are over here don't know how they're going to eat their next meal, and they're just happy as can be. And I'm like, something's off. So I feel like I had an encounter with God in Haiti one night, standing on the roof of this compound.
Were you up on that roof by yourself?
I was looking at the stars, and I mean, I can just remember the sights and the smells. They're always burning something. There smells like it's not a good barbecue smell. Very little electricity. Everything is just dark. And I just remember looking at the stars and the moon and just going, God, if this is real, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to follow you. And that was what it was. And I felt like he just hit me in the head right then and said, okay. And so at that moment, I decided I was going to change everything I was doing.
After the chops have sat in the brine for 4 days, we're gonna move those coolers over to a floor drain where we can drain that brine off, where the coolers are a little easier to handle. It tends to be a little salty, so it's a good idea to take some cold water and rinse that brine off. They've already got a ton of flavor, but we still like to add a little more seasoning to that chop. We used a little house seasoning on those. It just adds a nice little flavor, nice touch to it before they go on the cooker.
Makes total sense.
Then we're gonna go onto about a 250 degree smoker. We're gonna leave them for approximately an hour until they get up to about 140 degrees.
That makes sense. I mean, we're cooking hot, but not super hot.
Right. The worst thing you can do is overcook these things.
So me, my mom, and my brother went to the airport to go pick him up. And we were in the back seat of the car, me and my brother, and Dad gets in. Dad kind of like turns around to us in the back seat, and he's got tears coming down his face, and it scared me because he does not cry. But I was like, oh gosh, what's happening?
I said, I'm sorry for the way I've behaved. You're not going to ever see me do this again. I'm not going to come home drunk. I'm done. And I will never act like this. There's no way for a dad to act in front of his kids.
Honestly, I'm like, okay, sure. Because I had heard all the words already. I'm also thinking, hello? I mean, do you have anything to say to me?
It was pointless at that point. I mean, I didn't tell her because I was going to show her that I could be the husband that she deserved, the dad that my kids deserved.
I guess we were always in the car when we talked about important things because we had just left our house. I will never forget the county road leaving our house, and he let me hear all the things. He had told me that he had a DUI and he spent the night in jail. As a married person and a mom now myself, I can't even fathom like what the strength that took for their marriage to stay together and shield both of her children from every aspect of that. I was angry with him. My relationship with my dad was a little bit rough after hearing that.
And, you know, our kids were still showing livestock then. And a lot of these stock shows that you go to, I mean, there's a lot of beer drinking and everybody has a good time. And when that time came around, I'm like, well, this has been great, you know, that he's been behaving so nicely, but he's not going to go to a stock show and not drink. I mean, let's get real. And so came into town and this guy was around and he didn't do the things that he normally did.
And so Byron was such a blessing to me because he just wanted more. The answer was yes. Hey, we're going to drive to Dallas and go to the porch. He's in. Hey, we're going to invite some guys over, cook some meat, and talk about God stuff, man stuff. He's in. You know, he was just a yes guy. He was hungry and he was getting all he wanted.
I always tell my mom, I've never seen a human like transform the way that my dad transformed. I don't think that it was rocky for long because he was just so good. I just watching their marriage, he was so good to her, like loved her in a way that I'd never seen.
Bit by bit, test by test, I started to see that that's exactly what was happening. And, you know, I think in that process strengthened my faith like crazy because I thought, you know, I had never really been able to say, here's what the Lord specifically did in my life and in my family. And now I had that. Byron was never going to just decide on his own, hey, I don't think I want to drink anymore. I think that my wife and my kids have a value that I haven't seen before. For me to look past and forgive does not come naturally to me either. That's not a decision that I would have come to on my own. There's some faith there. There's some Holy Spirit there.
Most men that I know have messed up in a lot of the ways that Byron has messed up or struggled, or that. That's not what's unique. What was unique is how when Byron was filled with the Spirit of God, how he pivoted and changed his life in every way he knew how. And anytime he saw a new way to grow or change his life, the answer was yes, and he just did it.
When I figured out the secret of this entire thing was to put God first and Stacie second, everything else below that, and everything changed. It just clicked.
For him to come in and pick that up and start to lead our family was pretty wild. It was eye-opening, and it was beautiful. I mean, it was just, you know, and it was something that I had been wanting and didn't even realize that I wanted. I didn't know that I needed that. You know, I didn't know that our kids needed that.
So the pork chops are nearly done. We've got our homemade sauce that we have here in the store.
Right.
That was my granddad's recipe that we still use the same one today. It's got some vinegar in it, but on this pork, we like to have a lot of vinegar in this stuff.
So
Start with 2 quarts of that sauce right there, Al.
smells delicious. So this is the sauce that you use for other stuff.
Yep.
What's going into here now?
2 tablespoons of salt, 2 tablespoons of pepper,
Okay.
then 4 cups of white vinegar. We're gonna do half a cup of Dijon mustard.
All right.
Then we've got 4 cups of apple cider
I
vinegar.
see. Yeah, that you can smell that coming a mile away.
So
Awesome.
lots of vinegar in this. As those pork chops get done, we're gonna go ahead and dunk them in that vinegar-based sauce. Once we dunk those, it'll just sit there and marinate in that cooler until we get ready to serve.
Good. And so, like, from a food safety perspective, we're at over 140. We're good.
Yes, sir.
So, folks that are worried about, oh my God, you got to cook pork to 165.
Yeah.
This is actually the better solution.
Absolutely.
So you're putting the marriage back together.
Mm-hmm.
You're finally being the dad that you needed to be.
Yep.
How do we get from there to we're going to open up a restaurant?
Yeah. So, come back home from Haiti. I've still got, I'm working on my stuff, but I've still got problems. I've still got problems with the business. I'd been talking to Stacie a lot about it. She was really encouraging me.
I had always told Byron that he wasn't doing what he was passionate about. Like, why don't you go into that area? Because that's the only thing I've ever seen you passionate about.
That ranch was the last thing we had to get rid of that was such a financial burden.
That was never the plan, never what I wanted, but we had to sell that place, honestly, to avoid bankruptcy. And so we were able to make money on that place.
At that point, we decided, okay, she had finally talked me into it. This was her idea, and she had finally talked me into doing this restaurant.
Was it an obvious we got to reboot the shed, or was there different concepts you were thinking about and this came back?
No, it was obvious. That was the only thing we could do. And we knew at that time in Abilene, there was no other craft barbecue. Jay's had started a little food trailer at that point. Jay's was about it. We knew that Abilene needed that. My grandparents were fired up about it.
We knew cook things the way Granddad did, but we also knew that we were going to do things a little bit differently in that we think the food's better when it's fresh. You know, I don't want a bunch of canned stuff. And so it was fun to sit down and have our test kitchen and all the planning that went into it. I mean, it was a sweet time to figure out the similarities and the differences in the 2 sheds.
So these have been on here for about 8 hours.
You got a lot of smoke on there.
This one's ready to wrap. If you want to grab that one, Al.
So is there a special shed wrapping method?
Not really. It's pretty simple. We're going to come over with this side,
Up and over.
open over, crease these sides like this,
Okay.
and then crease these sides. Use that right in there and just right over the top. And that's
All
it.
right.
We're going to go down on a lower level there for those
Okay.
and let them rest all night.
All right. Now we got another brisket that we put in here.
We do.
You ready to see what it looks like?
Let's check it out.
All right.
So,
I'm not gonna say it's a pretty brisket. It's not. It's not. Let's pull it out and take a look. So how close is this to what Granddad's briskets look like?
It's similar. This is a good example of why we do what we do.
Yeah.
Because you can see these corners, real sharp edges there. This select brisket didn't have a whole lot of fat cover.
Right.
So
Okay. I want to know what Granddad's tasted like.
I do too.
All right. So this doesn't get wrapped, right?
No, we're gonna go straight into a cooler with it.
And if he did a bunch of them, he would just stack them?
Yep, and that was it. And they would stay in there for about 4 hours.
All right, so in about 4 hours we can taste.
Yep.
Growing up, we lived at this house that was owned by a man named Terry Casey. And Terry tore that house down and he was building a little strip. Could not believe he agreed to do it. You got a little local startup barbecue place gonna go in there. Barbecue place gonna require a pit room that's gonna have to be built on the back end of the property. It was a pain for Terry, I would think.
Because of my relationship of knowing Byron's mom and dad, I knew what kind of quality people they were. So I wasn't concerned at all about whether or not they would make a go of it. I also knew that if they, for some reason, didn't make a go of it, that they wouldn't leave me in a bind.
There is this hidden gem, the Small Business Development Center. It's a free service. So we went over there, made an appointment, and said, okay, we're gonna open a restaurant. They told us, okay, your break-even point is 40 plates. We think that you guys, if you can sell 40 or more, you can show a profit. And I remember we looked at each other like, can we sell 40 plates a day? I don't know, I hope so.
Okay, Al, how I like to cut my ribs is from the bone side up.
It's kind of
So-
cheating, but okay.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm blind in one eye and I can't see out of the other one, you know,
Alright.
so I need all the help I can get. But just let the knife do the work, easy as it gets.
Oh, look at that.
Yes, sir.
And it looks like the skirt didn't overcook.
Yeah.
Like everybody cuts the skirt off, but
I mean, that's one of my favorite pieces.
so should we just grab a couple of these?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Help yourself.
All right, I'll take one. Let's give one to them.
Here, I'm gonna give him this little one.
Okay, you guys get the little one. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Cheers to you. Cheers to you guys. Here we go. Oh man, that's good. I want to taste the skirt. Hang on a second here. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop cutting skirts off my ribs. There's like literally like every single how do you cook ribs, you trim the skirt.
Yes, sir.
Nice job.
Thank you.
And it's so simple the way you approach it, and
sir.
you're really, really making something special. Nice job. So, opening day.
When we opened, it was incredible. Our daughter's running the register, our son was helping me cut meat. I mean, it was just perfect.
So, did we sell 40 plates?
We did. We've never not sold 40 plates in the first 15 minutes, but it's crazy.
And I mean, looking back, it's like the Lord blew that out of the water.
The entire parking lot, starting at about 11 or maybe even a little bit before, was consumed with Shed customers.
We had, I don't know how many wrecks in front of the store there. We did a 5-year lease. I think we're good to stay here 10. It didn't work. This little spot where the store is now it was for sale.
For those want a little sneak peek into the progress that you're making on the building. Big pit room. We're gonna have 3 smokers. We've got 1.
And what is the craziest thing about mine and Byron's story is neither one of us can tell you the day or time we started talking again. I would always come up here on Friday mornings, me and Byron, we'd drink coffee. I'd help him wrap briskets. You know, I'd help him season pork butt, and me and Byron talked about it, and he was just like, hey, if you want to come over here, come on. It was the best decision I've ever made.
Did your mom get to see the opening day?
She got to see every bit of that. She got sick. She first was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2016, about the time I was going through all my crap. She fought it, she beat it. and it came back. And it was downhill after that. You know, those things don't go good. When it comes back, it's bad. It's bad. Spread went everywhere. I was able to, after my mom, I can't remember, I've got to figure out what the year is, but I was able to baptize both my parents. So she was an incredible woman.
All right, these briskets have cooked all night. So now we're gonna check them for doneness.
Hopefully they're done by now.
What we're looking for is, it's not firm, it's trying to break over just a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's done. We're gonna put them on sheet pans and they'll go into the warmer.
perfect.
The Byron that I know now compared to the Byron that I knew then, I mean, he is just so genuine. He's grounded. I mean, he makes me proud. Him and Stacie have catapulted this thing higher than either one of them ever thought about.
I got to watch firsthand how Byron became a rock, came back, and was there for his family, was there for his parents, and all these people around him that knew the old Byron, that knew the new Byron, wanted more of what he had found.
And I told Byron the other day, I said, how long are we doing this? And he said, I don't know. I guess forever. If Byron wants to do this till we're 80, then this is where I'll be.
Dude, this looks delicious.
Yeah, I can't wait for you to try it. You ready?
Yeah. Is there a trick to slicing, or we're just gonna go straight in across?
I'm gonna go straight across. Just cut it up like a nice T-bone. You got the bone there. You got these
Nice.
two pieces, which would be the tenderloin and the loin.
Right. So the tenderloin's always gonna be more tender, so we should start with the loin, right?
We should, and we'll save that for next.
Okay. You guys grab one too. Now what do we do? Are we dunking? I
We're
see
dunking.
sauce here.
We
Okay.
got to dunk.
All right, let's dunk. You guys dunk yours. All right. Cheers. Cheers to you guys. You don't need a knife.
No.
Hang on a second. You guys check this out. It's like a slice of brisket. It's delicious, but it's melt in your mouth.
Very tender, very juicy.
And is the brine why it's so tender?
I believe it is.
Okay, how tender is that tenderloin gonna be? We're gonna have to.
Listen, we got to try it.
So folks, when he talks about the tenderloin, this is like the filet mignon of the pig. So, all right, that piece is for you guys. All right, ready? Here we go. Cheers. Wow.
That's good.
Same thing here. I'm messing with your piece, guys. Sorry, but like, there's no resistance.
No.
This is so. Sorry, you guys snooze, you lose. I'm eating yours here. You want the other half of their
There you
piece?
go.
All right, awesome. Great job, Job.
Thanks, man.
So how's the family now?
Oh, so good. I mean, the devil didn't win, and Byron and I, you know, through everything, have the sweetest little family, the most amazing business, and our marriage is healthier than ever. We have this grandbaby together, and I mean, when we have her and are holding her, I mean, I can just look at him and my eyes fill with tears because it wasn't supposed to be this way. The world says that we should not be where we are today. It doesn't make sense on paper.
So what kind of mother are you gonna be?
I want to be a lot like my mom. And I think that the goal is to kind of take the things that your parents do well and like chase after that and get rid of some of the stuff that they didn't. And my daughter will do the same thing one day.
Would your granddad be proud of you now?
Oh yeah. All this is built on him. Gosh, I wish he was still around. He'd be blown away. He really would. So I get really emotional talking about him. I owe a lot to that guy. So
It's truth time.
Yeah, I'm ready.
See what we got.
Okay, let's check it out.
Are you ever nervous when you're opening these?
Yes, sometimes.
Well, it's pretty. Look at that. We got jiggle.
Let's check it out. So,
Wow. All right. Oh, that's pretty. All right, I'm gonna tear off this piece over here.
Oh, that looks good.
You want to tear one off for them and one off for yourself, and we'll see how we did?
Yeah,
All right, that one's for you guys. You ready?
I'm ready.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. That's a shed brisket. The cracked pepper
Yeah.
is so different. It's really nice. Like, it's not the same bark I see everywhere in Texas. It's differentiated, it's special. But of course, you got to taste the point if you're going to taste brisket, right?
That's right.
I kind of bogarted the bark there myself.
Yeah, you kind of got all the bark there.
Right here, we'll give you
All
a little
good.
more. There you go. All right. Cheers. You guys
Cheers.
grab that. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, wow. You know what? The fat with the cracked pepper is a thing.
Man, it's great. We've tried to get that pepper to salt ratio down, and we're happy with the way this is.
You got it. And the salt is standing up on the bark, and it's got heat. This held it. All right, congratulations on this one.
Thank you.
But you know, we still got to see whether Granddad's brisket.
I know.
I mean, what are you going to do if we taste Granddad's brisket and it's better than this?
We're going to have to go back to the drawing board, I guess.
All right. I mean, it's going to look better on the inside.
Let's hope so.
If it's not right, it just means that you didn't remember exactly how Granddad did it.
It has been 25 years.
But I'm still rooting for this brisket. I
Okay.
kind of want to see Granddad make a showing. All right.
Okay.
Should we see what's inside?
Yeah, let's
right.
cut into it and see what we got here. You know, for a select brisket, there is a little bit of moisture in there.
Wow. It's actually not dry. I mean, it's not super juicy. All right, should we try it?
I think we should, yeah,
Here
definitely.
we go. Whoop. This one's for you guys. All right, here we go.
Cheers.
To you guys. I think you gotta admit that's not horrible.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
The salt penetrated all the way
Yeah,
through.
it did. That table salt was way different.
Way different. Like, it's not sitting on the bark like we get usually now. It's all the way in. Like, it's almost like it dry brined itself while it was cooking.
It's surprising.
Granddad might have been onto something.
I think he was.
All right, so now I'm optimistic about the point. You guys could be seeing it live here. This could be the point where the shed changes the way they cook briskets. I mean, I can see how juicy that is from here.
Yeah,
Are you nervous?
a little bit, yeah.
It's rendered perfectly. This does not look like select brisket.
It really doesn't. Before we cooked it, it looked like there was zero marbling in this brisket.
And yet it still found some moisture.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. What are you guys rooting for? Do you guys want Granddad's brisket to be the future of the shed? Drop a comment before you see what we do. This one's for you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. I'm not sending that back.
No.
It's all right. Yours, what you're doing today, is definitely better. Yeah. I'd do this as a special once in a while and an homage to Granddad. I would serve this to customers.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think so. Exactly.
I'm glad we did this.
I am too. It's been a long time since I've done this, and it's surprising that it was as good as it was.
Yeah.
So,
Byron, thanks for doing this with
Yeah.
me and
This
for
is awesome.
teaching me and sharing your whole life and all of your family and everything. And
thank you for coming down here, taking time out of y'all's schedule to do this. It's just been, there was some stuff that was hard to talk about, but I think I needed to talk about some of it. So,
Good.
I really appreciate it.
Awesome, dude. Thanks again.
Thanks, man.